All right, we're diving into a belief system that pretty much turns everything we think we know about science, history, and even reality itself completely on its head. This is the worldview of the United Universe Church Galaxy Academy, or UUCGA for short. It's a very complex philosophy that says humanity has been on the wrong track for thousands of years, and, it proposes a really radical solution. So let's break it all down.
Right at the very heart of this UCGA philosophy is this core idea. If you want to find true freedom, you have to be willing to unlearn everything. This whole concept of just dismantling our most basic assumptions, well, it's the thread that connects every single part of their worldview, as you're about to see.
So, to really get a grip on this worldview, we're going to follow their logic across 5 key concepts. We'll start with how they believe humanity completely misinterpreted its greatest gifts, which they say led to this harmful physical disconnect from nature. Then we'll get into how they claim science just reinforces this problem, why they propose a totally different cosmology, and finally, what their radical plan for a global reset actually looks like.
Their entire theory of history, and I mean all of it, hinges on this single, kind of tragic pattern. In this worldview, every major gift given to humanity, we're talking everything from fire to AI, it all starts with the promise of enlightenment, but is inevitably, every single time, twisted into a mechanism for control.
Okay, so their first example is fire. In their view, fire wasn't just for, staying warm or cooking. It was a spiritual gift meant to ignite the soul. But we got it wrong. By using it to create processed, cooked foods, they believe we transformed it into a source of dead matter that actually weakens our connection to the natural world.
And they see this exact same pattern playing out with modern technology. The internet, right? It promised this new era of shared knowledge, of global connection. But instead, from their perspective, it's become this vast system of surveillance and control, all managed by algorithms.
And this pattern all culminates with AI. They see it as the most powerful gift we've ever been given, and one that's about to become the ultimate instrument of subjugation, what their texts literally call the final control grid, unless we make a fundamental change, and fast.
Okay, so if our technology and all of our progress have been co-opted, what has that actually done to us, physically? According to this worldview, this historical pattern isn't just some abstract idea. It has led to a profound, really damaging break between our bodies and our natural state of being. They have a very specific name for this condition: biosomatic disconnection. The core idea is that our modern urban life, surrounded by concrete and technology, has just severed the connection to our own biological blueprint, and they see this as the root cause of so many of our modern problems.
This disconnection, in their view, shows up in some really concrete ways. Our nutrition is degraded by dead food, we suffer from chronic fatigue, and we're just bombarded by environmental stressors like what they call electrosmog. All of this leads to a loss of our vital spark, and it kind of bundle all these symptoms into one big diagnosis, a civilizational fever, where society itself is just biologically and spiritually overheating.
So the natural question is, well, can't science help us fix this disconnection? In this worldview, the answer is a hard no. They argue that modern science isn't the solution at all. It's actually a key part of the system that keeps us trapped.
Their claim is, it's both bold and provocative. They frame modern science not as this impartial search for truth, but as the high priests of a hidden system of control they call the archontic matrix. Their reasoning is pretty simple. Follow the money. Because mainstream science relies on funding from governments, corporations, and the military, they believe there's no way it can be objective. Its purpose, in their view, just becomes serving its paymasters, which then dictates the questions it's allowed to ask, and more importantly, the answers it's allowed to find.
And this critique goes right to the core of the scientific method itself. They describe the whole peer review process as a cartel, a system designed to enforce conformity, protect outdated ideas, and just suppress any genuine breakthroughs that might challenge the status quo.
And this brings us to what they see as the ultimate limitation of science. This number, 0.005%, is what they claim is the tiny fraction of total reality that our normal consciousness can even perceive. So their argument is that modern science is just trapped, operating exclusively within this minuscule slice, completely blind to the vast holographic nature of existence that lies beyond it.
So after pretty much critiquing our entire system, what's their alternative? This is where they introduce their own spiritual cosmology, and it's centered on figures like Kukulkan and a really radical reinterpretation of the Anunnaki.
Now, this is a key reframing of a story you might think you already know.
So forget the whole idea of Anunnaki as gold-seeking aliens who enslaved humanity. The UUCGA texts redefine them as Shiva galaxy angels, these benevolent, higher-dimensional beings who guide our evolution not by physically visiting Earth, but by channeling inspiration through receptive humans.
So their cosmology outlines this four-level path of consciousness. It all starts with what they call the sola pharaoh, which is basically the limited individual ego. From there, you can evolve to the galactic perspective of a Shiva angel, then to the galaxy-spanning view of an Anunnaki god, and then finally to the Anuverse, which is like a mission control for the entire multiverse. This is their roadmap for spiritual growth.
Okay, so where does all this theory actually lead? It leads to a concrete plan of action. This isn't just a philosophy. It's a full-on manifesto for a global transformation they call the Reset of Light. After all that critique, we finally get to the central question. What is the proposed solution? And, well, the source material offers a very direct and a very radical answer.
Their solution comes in the form of 6 non-negotiable shifts. And this isn't some gradual 10-year plan. This is a hard reset. It includes a general pardon to just wipe clean all karmic debt, a permanent freeze on all national borders to end conflict, and folding every single military on Earth into one defensive force. It's nothing less than a new operating system for the entire planet.
And to implement these shifts, their manifesto calls for a pretty unprecedented leadership model, a single, egoless, enlightened guide who would simultaneously lead the UN, NATO, the WEF, and every other key global institution, just to ensure total alignment for the transition. And the ultimate goal of this massive, sweeping reset? It's to provide the upgrade humanity needs to finally exit our age of conflict and enter the Satya Yuga, a term from Hindu cosmology for the golden age of peace and enlightenment.
The source concludes its manifesto with this really powerful statement, defining their proposed transformation not as some violent overthrow, but as a global shift in consciousness.
So ultimately, the entire UUCGA worldview, from its critique of science all the way to its plan for a global reset, it all boils down to this single, really audacious premise. It leaves us with a final, provocative question. What if the operating system of reality isn't fixed? What if it could actually be rewritten?